Yo, good evening, good evening, good evening, one and all, and welcome to another weekly edition of TG Touchline Gunners, as we are now known. It's your boy SB Carbaholic on hosting duty, and I'm joined by Mr. Napoleon himself. German Dan, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, bro. I'm good.
You're
I'm
good,
very
yeah.
well.
You're good, yeah. And we are joined by the hood solicitor himself, Mr. Shabs. What's going on, brother?
We're taking names, kicking ass, bro.
Yeah, I hear you, bro. I hear you, bro. I hear you. Well, listeners, thank you very much for joining. Just a quick nod to the Patreon. You can sign up for as little as £3 a month. You get the post-match reviews. And we did one post the Villa game, which I believe Shabs and Cougs were on. So if you want to get the raw, fresh thoughts of the Villa game, it wasn't a pretty end to the game. So feel free to listen to that. We have some scouting pieces coming. We know you guys love the scouting pieces, so we're planning, I believe, to do Sesko, and Nyapan. Hopefully, I've not butchered the pronunciation. And we might do a Cunha one as well. So, based on all three of those links, I think we might run those this Friday, I believe. So, yeah, do be on the lookout for that. But yeah, guys, let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. Yeah, the TG group chat has not been a harmonious place. It's not been a harmonious place for a while. There's been a lot of warring, a lot of tussling back and forth in the group chat. I've been a keen participant in that. It's reminded me almost of how it was when Arsenal were during COVID, which is quite mad to say, considering we sit second in the league and third in the Champions League group. But listen, we've raised expectations. Um,
You do realize you niggas gone mad.
yeah, listen, I don't mind. I don't mind, boy. Listen, when I'm trying to get my trophy, um, needs must, man. So yeah, we are fighting, we are warring. Even a nice team building dinner we did a couple of weeks ago wasn't enough to quell the back and forth. We're still going every day in the group chat. Sometimes I might be in a meeting, I come out, there's 500 messages. I'm like, God damn, what's happened now? So it is part and parcel. I wouldn't have it any other way. We tussle, but at the end of the day, we're still a big family, so we love that. Um, but listeners, we beat Zagreb tonight 3-0, which is pretty much all but confirmed our place in the top eight. So we will qualify for the round of 16 in the Champions League, which pretty much makes our next game against Girona, which I believe is next week, a dead rubber. Um, and so we're going to get into it. We had a lot. We changed. Zinchenko came in today. Kivior came in today. Sterling got a start again. Um, and I believe, yeah, Jorginho came in. So we had four changes, I believe, from the weekend's game, which was to be expected. We've played, I think, 6, 7 games already this month. We've still got Wolves this weekend, got Girona next week. So the games have been coming thick and fast. I think this was our fifth home game on the trot as well. So yeah, I think um, it was good to get some momentum back going after the disappointing draw against Villa. I think obviously most would have expected us to beat Zagreb, but we still needed to get the job done. It was a professional job, even if it wasn't what some would say the most prettiest at times. So before we get into some individual performances, German Dan, let me come to you first, and let me get your overall take on the 3-0 win. What was your your overarching thoughts summary of the game?
Yeah, I think it was a pretty boring game. I think we went up, got the 1-0 lead very early. I think from then on, Zagreb were quite apprehensive coming out. And I think we were pretty happy to just keep the ball for a period. I think we did create good openings. And we could have we could have scored a couple more goals, but overall I think it was a pretty good boring game. There were periods in the game where I think we were pretty happy to just keep the ball, and then we got the 2-0, and then I think after that it was definitely game done. I don't really remember them having any good chances, to be honest. It was a pretty easy win in that regard. I think we just dominated, and yeah, and as Sight said, choked them out, and that was it.
Yeah, I don't disagree too much. Shabs, let me bring you in as well. What were your overarching thoughts from the game as well?
Yeah, I think good lineup, good rotation. The rotation shouldn't have really caused any concern or any problems. I think the players coming in more than adequate, to be honest with you. Um, I liked Jorginho. I think he had a good game today. I liked Rice in the 8 as well. I think Rice for me, I said it earlier, but Rice in the last 4 or 5 games for me has really been looking like a do-it-all dynamo in terms of him playing quite a crucial role in all aspects of the game. I was talking about these old school midfielders back in the day in your 4-4-2 formations when football was probably a lot simpler, and every team played a 4-4-2. That how Rice has been performing was really an interpretation of how those two central midfielders used to perform back in the day. They take it in turns. One would sit and one would go, but he's encompassed that in one person in one role. So I think he was really good today. Dynamo lacked any kind of aggressive, high pressing threat. It meant that it was very easy and slow and controlled in terms of build up. George was doing his thing. We saw the same rotations that we used to see, and so we see 3-2. We'd see Zinchenko, moving inside to form a double pivot, but also sometimes when the right situation called for it, Zinchenko would, stretch play, hug the line and go wide. We saw lots of wide spaces between the players, in terms of the range of passing. That was really good. And we were really able to progress the ball through the thirds without any type of major problems at all. I think the centrality came primarily from Jorginho and the positions that he was taking up, particularly in the first half. Dynamos seemed to just kind of be happy to allow us to have possession really and just kind of camp in front of their box. And I think very early on as well, what we did do was made good use of the width that we created from stretching the play and our wide players. And you see that very early for the first goal. Martinelli was very, very threatening today, had his man's number all day. And I think he could have ran at that fullback for another 90 minutes. He had so much joy. So I think overall that's kind of what we done in possession, and I think it was very comfortable, very encouraging. I don't think Dynamo really threatened us at all. I think all the threats came from us having silly lapses at the back.
Yeah, good points. Agree with both of you. I want to get onto some individual performances because I think there's a few, even though the game was quite boring to touch on, right? And the first person I want to talk about is my guy, Mr. Declan Rice himself. Now, obviously we go back and forth a lot in the chat around the best utilization of him. Is it a 6? Is it an 8? And I think probably the right answer is that sometimes it's a bit of both. Sometimes 6, sometimes 8. But obviously with the news coming out from Sammy the other week that Zubimendi is all but wrapped up in the summer, I think that looks like it's given a bit of clarity to where we will see Rice more often than not next season. And obviously this left 8 role, right, because we've gone back and forth. It's raised a few questions in the chat of how to best approach it. Arteta sees it a lot as an off the ball role. You're winning duels, you're crashing the box, you're making a lot of runs off the ball, and we saw it really to good effect from Rice twice this game. Obviously the goal, first couple minutes, he had a really from a great Ethan ball where he probably should have scored in the second half, late in the second half. Yeah, and I think another one. So and even though I slightly prefer Rice when he operates more behind the ball, I do also see the values of him playing as an 8 in this system, because I do think his interpretation of the role is better, in my opinion, than any of the others, because he's a natural midfielder. He knows when to go, when to drop. He's got that ability to carry. I think he had a few really, really good carries today as well. He looks a lot fitter. I've always thought with Rice, and it's probably been confirmed again this season, he seems to take a while before he gets going in the season, but he looks fitter now again. So hopefully this can be a good run from him from now until the end of the season. So, German, obviously, I'll come to you first. How are you seeing the involvement of him since his signing? Obviously, a lot of people have said when you're spending 105 million on a DM, you want to see him in DM. and obviously you get the merits for that. But I know you've been a big proponent of using him as an 8 to crash the box. Do you think that's the best utilization of his skill set? How do you see it also potentially evolving with the arrival of Zubamendi next season?
Yeah, I think I've been pretty consistent in where I think Rice fits best, and where I see him fitting best long term, and in this team. And he definitely is a good six. He's one. I still think he's one of the best sixers in the world. But as an 8, I think I think he can go to another level, and I think simply because he's an all action midfielder, I think playing him as the 6 kind of restricts his skill set. Um, like he can score goals. His ball striking is good. He's good in the air. He's good at timing runs. I mean, last couple of games, I think against United, and then today he's missed some good headers, but he gets into these opportunities to time his run well, to meet the crosses. And we've seen him score these type of headers against Luton, for example, as well. And I think there's another goal we've seen him score. So I think he has capabilities to finish in the box with both his feet and his head. And then I think in terms of his strengths, there isn't. I say this all the time. There isn't many midfielders in world football, I believe, are more convincing, are more dominant off the ball than Rice. And where do you want to utilize this strength of his? Do you want to just have it protecting the two best centre backs in the Premier League? I don't really think that's necessary. I think you can utilize the high up the pitch and get the team winning duels. The Premier League is predominantly about second balls at the moment. Winning those second balls to then break up and break it open with play, because games can be quite static unless teams in the lower end of the table, I think, meet each other. I think you see a lot of games can be quite static, especially when we play them, because just the way teams play us. So when the opponent has the ball, Rice is someone that can win it off them and then drive and get away from people. I think that's the huge quality. We saw that quality again today. We saw that quality in the games, in the last couple of games that Shabs has referenced, where he's played really well. I think his best utilization, when I look at all of Rice's best skills, they are well used in a role that allows them to roam, crash, bang, wallop. That's what the role is for him. He's a traditional centre midfielder. I think he has been playing as a 6. He has capability as playing as a 6, but his strengths are accentuated in a box-to-box role. Yes, people have some question marks about his ability to receive between the lines, but same as at the 6, people have some question marks about his ball progression and speed of thought, operation speed in that role. So no player is perfect in whatever position they play anyway. So I think the bulk of his skills are best utilized in the 8. And I think he needs to start taking direct free kicks as well. His deliveries peak from corners, his deliveries peak from free kicks. But let him shoot as well. Udegaard needs to come off those free kicks. Let Rice and Saka shoot the free kicks. I think this is a player that can score 10 plus Premier League goals. If he plays a whole season in that left 8, I can see him score this amount of goals. He probably gets about 10 assists from set pieces. That's a double-double, man. And that ain't bad. That ain't bad at all. As well as what he gives you in terms of progression, in terms of dominance of territory in the football pitch. I think that's a world-class player. So I think he can really solidify a slot as a world-class player playing that 8. But it's very important that 6 has those characteristics that Jorginho has. Speed of play, speed of thought, operation speed, being able to dominate a game through that passing, being very consistent in those actions. And I think Partey had some of these qualities, and he had some of them greater than others. I don't think he has some of these qualities anymore. So we need to move past him. Jorginho has some of these qualities still, but I think there's also a lot of deficiencies off the ball with him. He's probably off the ball right now. He looks better than Partey, to be honest, though.
He is, bro. He is 100%. He is 100%. Shabs, let me not shut you out on that. I do agree. You spoke about Rice's ability to do a lot of things. Germans alluded to it there. Probably, he's not as good as breaking the lines as Jorginho and Partey, but he also does a lot of stuff much better than the other two. So do you see it as a case of he'll probably play a lot of 8, but he will also take some 6 games off Zubamendi as well next season?
Yeah, absolutely. I think. Sorry, just before I answer that question, just to add as well, he doesn't break passes. He doesn't break lines with his passing as well as the other two, but he breaks lines and destabilizes defenses by his ability to carry, and that's an attribute that we lack throughout the side. If we think about central carrying and central progression, I think actually he does it better than anyone. So, progressive yards, whether by carries or whether by passing, is an interesting one for me because that's a skill set that we know Rice possessed even prior to joining us. And then since being here as well, sometimes what we have seen when he's been used in the six is that it negates some of his ability or opportunities in game to be able to carry. So I just wanted to add that as well because I have loved seeing him do it in the last 4 or 5 games. I think he's been really effective at it. And then also the timing of his runs and the arrivals of his runs and movement into the box. And if we check the first goal, he very cleverly delays his movement. You know, the player's ahead of him. He waits, watches the player go ahead of him on the left with Martinelli. That pass goes inside. He waits, and then all the defenders rush ahead of him. Havertz very cleverly, very intelligently lays it off. And I want to emphasize that because I'm the first to call Havertz out and say that this guy's garbage. More often than not when he does garbage things. But for me, it was a very good, clever piece of play and a layoff. At first, you almost watch it and say, oh, what the hell is he doing? Why don't you get that? Why don't you try and get that under and turn and shoot? But actually, he knows exactly where Rice is. He knows exactly how the shot could be created. He does that. And then Rice just moves into the space. And that's why the setup is so neat and why he's able to strike the ball so cleanly. So for me, that's another advantage of Rice being able to play in the 8. And he's had lots of different opportunities like that where he's arrived at the ball or arrived into the box and got on the end of a shot in recent games, but he's just not converted. So we probably don't appreciate the move or the thought process behind the movement or the intelligence attached to that play as much as we do today because he actually scored. So just to kind of cover the first bit of your question, just to cover the first bit that German Dan spoke about, and then just to kind of come back to your question, I think, dual players, single players for dual roles, I should say. And, what we do know about Arteta is that he moved towards this attribute-based recruitment. And if you look at the profiles that he does have, there are very few players now throughout the squad who are signed and utilized solely to play in one position. So, if you look, all of these players can function across multiple positions, across multiple roles. I see him being able to be used as an 8 like he was today, but I see in certain games he will absolutely be required as a 6. I see him sometimes being a sole pivot as a 6 in certain games if we sign Zubimendi. And I see certain games where he and Zubimendi will form a double pivot, with someone, probably Ødegaard, ahead in a more central role, in a more central position. I absolutely see that. With Zubimendi, I'm on record. I really like him. We've discussed him at length on this pod and our episodes and in our group chat as well. I think many of us have watched him now and kind of know what he's good at, what he excels at. He's a very good passer. He's like a mid to high touch midfielder. I think the best way that I could describe him for those who haven't properly watched him is the way Jorginho interpreted the game today. That's what Zubi does. Zubi loves to drop into that back line, receive the pass. He can receive on the turn. He has, I think he's got a good operation speed and can play it first time, first touch, off right foot, off left foot, on the half turn, and he can split lines, with his passing, with his range of passing as well is very good. The deficit with Zubimendi is his pressing. I was talking about it early in this game, actually, saying I've watched this guy run and watching him run to try and cover any kind of space in La Liga is depressing. He just can't do it. So I would worry about him out of possession. I'd worry about him less so because I think ultimately we're a very good side out of possession, and I think there are things that we could do to cover for his deficits. But in terms of covering large ground over short, in very quick periods of time, that's not something that I associate with being a strong character trait of Zubimendi. So that for me is something where Rice is going to have to either heavily hold his hand in that regard, or he's going to have to play and control that aspect of games for large parts of certain games, particularly the biggest games. All the teams that are prone to hitting us on the break. So like a Liverpool away, for example, I would imagine Rice playing in the six. Probably a City away from home, I'd imagine Rice playing in the six and starting in the six if they're not gone out as a double pivot. So it's those types of games, those types of situations where I think, I could definitely still see Rice doing playing and fulfilling the role that he plays for us currently as a six.
Yeah, let me quickly jump in on the Liverpool away, for example. I think, and I hear some of your concerns about Zubimendi. I think a lot of times you need to see players also in the model that they're playing in, because the spaces or the spacing is different in different teams. So how much he has to cover, what's the distance to the next challenge is probably different in our system than it is to Sociedad's system. So the requirements are slightly different, and I'm not gonna say I think a lot of players, and put it this way, I think a lot of players that play in midfield in La Liga would struggle physically in the Premier League. But those players typically are better technically. So like Zubimendi came on in the final against England, and people were like, "Oh my God, Rodri's down. England's gonna do it." He was calm. He was super calm. They couldn't get near him. It's about especially on the ball, like a player like him, I think he interprets the spaces that he needs to be in and executes with like not just speed, but he knows where someone is going to press him from, where to lay the ball off to then get it next, to then get it to the next guy. They just play a bit of a different game, to be honest. So I think if we have someone that is smart with their utilization of the ball, that will help the team massively. I think because we see the difference in how we play and how Rice can play as well. I think Rice has had his best games for Arsenal next to Jorginho, not next to Partey. He's had some good games next to Partey as well, and Partey has had some good games next to him as well. But in terms of the best games I've seen him have, I always felt like he played best next to Jorginho. And one of the games I remember quite vividly is when we played Liverpool. It was Jorginho and Rice in midfield, the box 10, or the twin tens where we had the box midfield. That was a good iteration of players who you might think, oh yeah, they can't press, or they would get beat up in a very intense game. They did the beating up. It was Rice, Jorginho, Havertz, and Trossard. So I think technically it gives us flexibility, which is the most important thing. And we seem to be getting a player that is quite good. I think with Zubimendi, there are going to be surprises because not everyone watches him week in, week out. We've all seen games with him. Um, I think I do take encouragement from the fact that he's been chased by all the elite teams in Europe. I don't think there's been an elite team in Europe that hasn't had a link to him. Bayern Munich have tried, um, Real Madrid have tried, Barcelona have tried, City have tried, Liverpool have tried, and now we are the likely destination. So he's got to live up to that expectation, in my opinion.
Yes. All right. Let me leave that there because I want to talk about the fun stuff now. I want to talk about the transfers. Everyone's been crashing out in the chat, for one reason or another. Rightly so. Look, we played like 7 games. We needed bodies this month. We haven't had any. I don't know. Does the window close on the 31st first? Can't remember. But basically, there's not long left of the window. We still don't have a body in. And we need more fundamentally. We know we're not going to see Saka before at least March. Something it may be until April until we see him again. So he's out for a significant period. Some of the frustrations that we have every game is around the amount of territory and dominance we have. We don't create enough threat in our front line. We saw that with, I don't want to talk too much on Sterling today, but it wasn't pretty what we saw So we need more fundamentally. And two of the heavy links that we have had this month, we could say they've been the most prominent ones, have been Mateus Cunha and Benjamin Sesko. Now, Cunha, we thought was signing a new deal. It's transpired he still hasn't signed that deal, and he's looking for a way out. His manager criticised him post-match against Chelsea the other day, saying he didn't like some of his body language and the attitude displayed. So I think he's looking at a potential opportunity to cash out and get to a big club. So let's tackle this one before we go into Sesko. German, I know you're a big fan of the player, and we've had back and forths in the chat. A lot of us, I think generally there's quite a positive assertion around Cunha. I think a lot of people rate him. I think where the debate comes over Cunha is how he potentially fits in within the setup, right? Because we know that Wolves play a back three system, and they have two inside forwards behind Strand Larsen, who's the main nine at Wolves, and Cunha has been playing as the left-sided inside forward, so he starts central, but he can drift wide, so he's got a bit of freedom to move around. Now, obviously, the debate is where, if he did sign for Arsenal, where would he potentially line up? How would he potentially be used? Now, obviously, we know, German, I know you said you reckon he might be used exclusively on the wing. Obviously, he might be able to do a Jesus thing as a false nine and drop in. But when we're obviously boxing a lot of teams in, we need maybe more of a striker with a bit of box presence. So break down to me, give me the case, because I like the player, but I'm not as convinced that it's a fit unless there might be a bit of a change in setup. And I know you and the doctor were going back and forth today about how potentially what we've done previously doesn't mean it's going to be set in stone going forward, and new additions, new forwards might mean a change or a tweak in how we attack.
Yeah, I think Cunha. I'll start with by saying I've seen Cunha for many, many years. I watched Bundesliga games. So I remember when he was at Hertha Berlin. I remember when he was at RB Leipzig. He scored some bonkers goals in the league. He's always been a very, very, very talented player. Type of player that if he is on his, or used to be, this is what he used to be like. A type of player that if it's his game, if it's his day, he will just be unplayable. But that day would not be consistent, or wouldn't come around very often. So he was really in and out. And I remember at that time we were linked with him. So we've been following this player for a long while. He ended up getting the move to Atletico Madrid, and he played there as a second striker, as a striker. At Leipzig, he played as a striker. He played also on the wing quite a lot, on the left wing in particular. And at Hertha Berlin, he played as a striker, left winger, right winger. He played across all the forward positions. So, again, I think people might look at this player and say, "Oh, he plays for Wolves now in the Twin Ten," but throughout his career, he has played everywhere in the front line. So this is a player that's familiar with different positions, different requirements in those different roles. I think he has some flexibility here, and versatility is obviously something that Arteta very much values. And to kind of talk about the fit, and I said to Dr. Leroy that I think the current approach or the current system or game module that you see doesn't always dictate or doesn't necessarily mean that is the direction moving forward. It might be that we are changing the system when this player comes in, or this player is the reason we are changing the system. And this was the particular case for Rice. It was the case for Havertz. We became a lot more dual, and players would move between positions in games. So we have seen this type of adaptation already under Arteta, and I would be surprised if he doesn't continue looking for different adaptations of his current system. So whatever the template is right now, that template is going to slightly evolve or have tweaks, and signings are an indication of those tweaks. Every season we have had new challenges. When we first had that initial title charge, our challenge was being a good team, and we ended up being a very good team. Then we faced the challenge of teams actually respecting us and having to approach games differently, have to manage games better, be more methodical in our approach, and also efficient, which we in the second season did. And this season we're facing different obstacles. Again, probably more severe than last season, but similar obstacles in that regard. And we don't quite necessarily have to lock for those obstacles that we're facing right now, with not everyone being fit. If Saka was there, it might be a different conversation. We'll probably be closer to what we want to do, but he's not there right now. So that it impacts us greatly. So I think I'll look at a player like Cunha and say, people talk about the fit a lot. How good is this player? Do you think this player's bonkers? I think this player's got bonkers ability. So is that a signing I'm making for the right price?
When you say
Yes.
bonkers, yeah, is it more bonkers than Jesus?
It is bonkers like Jesus, in my opinion.
Okay.
And he can shoot. So I think the doctor asked me, I don't know if he feels what we need to do. And I was saying, I think he fulfills some of the requirements we definitely need in our attack currently. We lack individuality in situations. People always say the system doesn't let players do things. Well, I don't necessarily agree. I think the system puts you in a position to find solutions, and the players don't always do. They turn away from solutions. We see how Sterling plays compared to how even Ethan played for 15 minutes,
true.
or Saka. So it's the players that finding the solutions through their individuality as well and their quality. So he's got shooting, he's got goals, he's got ball carrying in transition. I've already mentioned versatility. He's got the ability to break a game open through dribbling or skill. So he has a lot of the things that Jesus has or had when he was really good. So for me, this is a deal I'm definitely doing, and I think we shouldn't stop at that deal. But it's definitely a deal I'm doing. I can see him play left wing striker, second striker. He could play left 8 maybe in some games. So yeah.
Okay. You put the case forward, Shabs.
Yeah, me and German been fighting a lot lately. I don't know what he's got to be in his bonnet about.
Oh, I know y'all been fighting. Y'all been fighting.
We've
I
been
like
really
to debate,
tussling.
man. We got to
We've been
debate.
we've been really tussling, but something that we've never tussled on is Cunha. German will know. We're going back to probably me at the beginning of the group chat days, but when he was at Hertha, I was watching him same time, same ways. And me and German actually had quite a few conversations about Cunha as well. If you search the chat, if you go find the receipts as well, the evidence is there as well. I've really liked Cunha for a long time. I felt that Cunha's issue, or one of his only issues for me, was just how consistent he could be in front of goal. I don't have an issue really about any other aspect of his game. I think he is an attacking player who can do it all. He can create, he can self-create. He can make something happen out of nothing, very little. You give him lemons, he's making the finest lemonade. So he's a very proficient dribbler. He can be tricky and flashy when he needs to be, but he can also be very practical and just get the job done. I think he's got the right combination of like physical profile and athleticism, but he's got lots of technical security, lots of flair as well when required. And yeah, as we were talking earlier, we were talking about players fulfilling different functions. And I think Germans get given the list of the different roles and functions that he can play. So I understand why he would appeal to a coach like Arteta, who values someone who can do more than one thing on the pitch, or who can perform in more than one position. Like I said, the biggest reservation that I had was his consistency in front of goal. You have to bear in mind that he's also still young as a football player. And, I think this season, what it has looked like for this Wolves side is that he's, I won't say exploding into goal scoring form, but he's burst into very good goal scoring form, considering the context that Wolves, who have been fighting for their lives for most of this season so far as well. So I think he's on 11 goals now. And some of the goals that he has scored have been outrageous as well. Some of the, taking the ball out of the air with one touch and just lacing it with another. Again, some of the goals that he did score in Germany, both for Hertha and RB Leipzig, were really good. I think at Atletico, I think that wasn't the style fit for him. I always worry about certain types of players going to Atletico Madrid. And I think he was very good, worked very hard in the system, played very well as a left winger primarily, sometimes as a kind of second striker, shadow striker. But sometimes I'm watching Atletico and this guy was being used as a left wing back, such as Diego Simeone. It was kind of nasty-ish work. So yeah, just I think that was a bad marriage for him. I'm surprised, but not surprised that he went to Wolves. Surprised because I always felt he was better than the level of Wolves, but not surprised because they're signing up everyone Portuguese or Portuguese speaking and above. Really, it's only Nottingham Forest that are pipping them to it. But yeah, I think it won't last there. I think he is a player who is capable of performing at a much higher level. I think Arsenal would probably represent the biggest stature club that he's played for if he does sign for us. Yeah, I think I'm more for the signing, especially now. I'm more for the signing than against it. I think the price point is what would concern me. The more we spend on him, the bigger risk the deal represents.
What's the most you want to spend on him? Because for me, I know Wolves bought him for
65.
Wolves bought him for like 44 mil. So that
Yeah,
was a lot of money, to be fair, like a couple of
yeah.
years ago. So I don't more than
It's
60 is a lot of money. It's a lot
it's a
of
lot of
money.
money, yeah. But at this
Is
point,
it your money or mine?
No, no,
yeah,
no, 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 no. So
at this
my thing
point,
is,
but
if
let
you
me
think
let me
he's a key
but
piece,
let me land
cool.
it. I don't have an issue. Yeah, I just think the more money we spend on certain players, the greater the risk it represents. Now he's still young. He's 20. What is he? 24, 25 now. He's relatively injury free. For me, there is still a resale value. There's a lot of value we could extract from him. And if he kind of continues the form that he's demonstrated, logic should say he's actually started the season very strongly and done well for Wolves. If he's able to continue and replicate that form for Arsenal, he will explode because he will get chances. He will certainly put chances away. He will not have to work as hard. He has to work hard at Arsenal, don't get it twisted, but not as hard as he's having to work at Wolves. He will see a lot more of the ball. So look, I don't mind it. I don't mind the signing. But I think the pricing points are important. Now, ultimately, it's not my money. And for where we are in the season and what we need, yeah, if it means paying 65 mil or even 70 mil for him, and it gives us that necessary boost required to finish our season strong, push Liverpool, or even win us the league, or push us in the Champions League or whatever, then it's 65, is 70 mil well spent. No one can argue with that. You know what I mean? I also don't think it hamstrings us or should restrict any business that we do in the summer if we go and sign him now. So that's the only points that I really wanted to make about the fee in relation to him. But I do think it's a lot of money.
So, and I know German said, "Is it my money?" It's not even about it being my money, yeah. Because right, we know that we're going to pay Zubimendi's 51 million release clause in the summer, right? That's got to all be paid up front. So, and then if you're saying you're going to spend like 70 m's on Cunha, that's already like 120 m's in the summer. Before you then need a forward, would you, they're still going to need to sign a backup for Raya, assuming Kivior and if forget Kivior, assuming Zinchenko and Tierney go, does that then necessitate another fullback coming in? So there's still potentially a lot of work to be done. So, like I said, for me, it's more about opportunity cost. Does it prevent other business being done? So let's see, man.
Quickly on this one, I think people looking at the work that needs to be done. Partey will leave, Jorginho will leave, Zubimendi will come in from what we've heard.
Sure.
We might get something like Douglas Luiz. I've seen some links earlier today.
Or the Norwegian kid as well.
Norwegian kid, yeah.
Fair play.
Fabio Vieira will come back. The left back situation, Zinchenko and Tierney. Tierney is a non-entity. Zinchenko is a player that we would lose, but he hasn't played much this year. And I've said this all the time. I think people are really harsh on Tomiyasu. I think Tomiyasu has gone through a really bad period, and he had a very bad knee injury and lost his mum. So I think he's definitely injury prone, but this is still a player that is on the Arsenal books. So we will have Tomiyasu, we will have Calafiori, we will have Luis Skelly for left back, and Timber can play there. For right back, we have White, Timber, and who else was I just thinking about? White, Timber, and yeah, Tomiyasu, so three. And then at centre back, we have Gabriel, Saliba, Kivia probably will stay. Timber, White, Tomiyasu. We have plenty of defensive options. I don't necessarily think if Zinchenko or um, Tini, we need to reinforce in this department. Goalkeeper, sure. Goalkeeper should not be more than 20 million. That's going to be a backup because Raya's still going to be the number one, I think. So the major surgery or the major investment will be in attack. So if Cunha is, if we're bringing that budget forward for Cunha, there's still some money left for the striker, and it looks like this link with Sesko for it at the moment, but I still think there's some budget left, even with Zubimendi and Cunha being done. So I don't view it quite like that. And then also on the Cunha thing, I do see him as a major piece. I
Okay.
think if you look at the players in this Premier League at this moment in time who have been standout performers, Cunha's been one of the standout performers in the Premier League.
Oh, he's
If
had a very good season so far. There's no denying that. He scored over
yeah,
10
and
goals already, right? So
yeah, and that's that. I think for me it's an ambitious move. Like
he's got
I'm
10 goals and 4 assists so far this season for
Yeah,
Wolves.
if they get it done, I would say yeah, very well done. Like a player, for example, that a lot of us like Kudus, he hasn't lit up the league like this in his time
Yeah.
here overall or this season. I think he's very talented.
Mm.
If I'd have to make a choice between who we make this Jan, it'll be Kudus or Cunha. I would lead with Cunha.
Mm.
I just think he's probably more ready to go and start firing straight away, in my opinion. And I said in the group, I need the guys that come in to actually be bullies,
Mm.
like a Semenyo type, Cunha
Mm.
type player, where players in the Premier League already know they're on smoke. Um,
Mhm.
like they're just not. Oh, it's going to be a long day. I'm coming up against Cunha. I'm coming up against Semenyo. I'm coming up against Saka. That's what it's got to be like. It's got to be like what the doctor said. It's got to be like, oh shit, Omar's coming. And I said, for me, it's got to be like, old dog and menace to society, man. Be a threat to society. You can't just be a bystander, and we have too many bystanders at the moment. I think
Mm.
Martinelli, for example, today played good. Sterling is a bystander, man. But let
Mm.
bystanders be bygones. So
Ah,
Yeah, I'm
hey,
actually
you're a
dead.
clown, bro.
That
You're
is,
a
yeah,
clown.
that is
You're a
killing me.
clown,
That
bro.
is killing me.
Man's getting biblical on us, you
Yeah,
know.
for real. Yeah, for real.
anyway, you guys get what I'm saying. I'm saying we need to do Cunha, man.
He's sick of it, bro. You're sick. I can tell. I know. I tussle with you all day. Look, we're not tussling on this, bro.
No,
Let them be
listen,
gone,
mate.
bro. I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of this shit. We need these guys that can, push defenders to their, physical peak. Shit. I cannot rest for a moment in this game because every time the ball comes down this side and Cunha gets it, I've got to be on point. Otherwise, he's cooking me. That's what I need. Martinelli can do it with his pace, but if you got someone who's as quick as he is or more intelligent, then it's not effective. Cunha's quick, he's flashy, he's intelligent, he's more technically secure. He can, for me, he can offer something different there. And that's what it is for me. He's an upgrade on what we have in terms of I think he's a better all-round player anyway. But I think in terms of his overall skill set, his overall attributes, I think there are upgrades and variances on what we currently have there as well. He's like, for me, if you rolled Martinelli and Trossard's best bits into one player, he's that and taller.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. I don't disagree too tough. All right. And obviously cover the other major link. We knew we were going to activate his release clause in the summer had he be willing to move, but he wasn't willing to make the move at the time. All reports now saying that Arteta's spoken to him and the player is very hungry to join. He was man of the match in their game against Sporting Lisbon tonight, a game in both which him and Victor Gyökeres scored. Sesko got a goal and he was also played a hand in the winner. Now, this is a very potentially interesting player, right? Because I think a lot of people can see the potential in Benjamin Sesko, myself included. I think where there is a bit of concern around it is that basically what we want Sesko to be, he isn't now. Now, that's not to say that he might not be there in the future. I think there's a lot of potential with this guy, right? He's a 6'5" guy who can run very, very fast, who can blam the ball very, very hard off either foot, who can dribble and carry the ball. And he's got 14 goals already this season, I believe, so far. So he's on course to, he should clear 20 where we're in Jan easily. So we know he can score. I think where the concerns potentially come in around Sesko is the fact that for someone who's probably 6'5", he doesn't leverage his frame the way he potentially should do. His hold-up play needs work. He can be shoved off the ball a bit too easily. And considering we're a team that comes up against deep blocks, when that ball comes into you, my guy, I need it to stick. So, this is a really interesting link. Obviously, from what it sounds like, Sesko is number 2 on the list behind Isak. Now, obviously, everyone would prefer Isak, but, just opinion-based, we're not sure whether Arsenal are going to spend that 120 mil plus to get Isak in the summer. So Sesko is a very, very decent alternative, albeit he's very far from what Isak is now. So it would be interesting to see how long we'd have to wait to potentially get the more refined version, whether the ARP package can help bring us forward. So German, where are you on this guy? Talk to me. Are you a fan? Talk to me about his attributes, what you like, what you don't like. And is this a move you would potentially trigger now, if possible?
I think there's 2 components, right? You have to make very clear that this is your striker for the future. When you look at this one, I don't think he is Isak ready yet. And I think us moving for Sesko probably indicates the Isak deal is way too difficult to do. I think there's a lot of variables and tangibles with the Isak deal that need to fall in place for that to be a viability. And I think the club probably thinking we don't want to wait in the wings and then be disappointed. Isak is a deal that can be done. He's got that gentleman's agreement with Leipzig. In the summer, it should be a straightforward move. Now it might be more difficult, more complicated to do, but overall, it's a more straightforward deal to do it anyway. And with this player, I think as you've mentioned his attributes. It's about putting it together. And I feel like he's at the stage of his development that I've seen Cunha a few years back, when sometimes bonkers, sometimes you don't see anything. With Sesko, I think it's even more raw. I think certain aspects of the game need drastic improvement. I think his hold-up play, I think his link play, his willingness to work hard and get stuck in is very important in the Premier League. People might underestimate these things, but I think they're very, very important. All the top strikers in this league, they're at the top end, who are played centrally, who are at the top end of this league, their score, are all engaging in physical battles and duels. It's a big part of gaining territory and making your chances in this league. So he needs improvement on that. 100%. I don't think he's fully ready, but he's a player that I can see. When you envision something, you like. I'm pretty certain at some point this guy could explode. I remember when Lewandowski signed from Lech Poznan for Dortmund. He was like techie and fast and sometimes shit, sometimes good. He reminds me a lot of Sesko, to be honest. And then
really, what, Lewandowski?
A young Lewandowski.
Young
Lewandowski. Obviously, the later iteration that people have seen was a player that didn't really stretch defenses with his running. It was more of a box striker. But young Lewandowski was dribbling a lot, was very skillful. Like, you can go back and watch some of the videos and some of the stuff he was attempting to do. He refined this game to focus on scoring goals. And he was a player that was became very demanding of his teammates to get the ball to him in the right areas where he knows he can damage and hurt teams. And I think Sesko needs to have similar development. So when that will happen and whether that happens, very much TBC. I think there is a high probability it will happen. When, I don't know. And it could be in the next 6 months. It could be in the next 12 months. But the club should probably take a proactive decision here on the Sesko Isak situation. If it's Sesko, then go with it. Do it now. We need the reinforcements now.
Yeah. Shabs, you agree?
Look, I really like Sesko. again, thought he was really good at Salzburg. I think the move to Leipzig, I think actually, but I understand why it wasn't the case, but I think we should have grabbed him out of Salzburg with a view to loaning him. I think at some point you have to kind of get ahead of the curve. And I think he showed the promise that he continues to show, actually, for club and country when he was at Salzburg. I don't think there's been that much development for him at Leipzig. I think actually he was getting more regular minutes when he was at Salzburg. When he came into Leipzig, they also signed a number of other strikers as well. So he's really had to tussle and compete for starting minutes. I'm surprised that he didn't run, to the Arsenal, towards the Arsenal deal at that time. But credit to him if he felt that he needed to stay and, I don't know, prove himself or develop for a further season or whatever. I think he is a footballer who's got, I think he's got superstar potential. I think he is a footballer. I describe him as a footballer rather than just a striker, centre forward, because I think he's got a lot more to his all-round game. And I think you can see those aspects when he is outside of the box. So I think he's got good, strong running, decent level ball carrying. I think his first touch sometimes can be a bit inconsistent. I think he has some technical inconsistencies. So sometimes you'll see him pull off a worldy first touch, and other times you'll see the ball bobble loose a little bit. I think he can score every single type of goal. What I've watched him do is score lots of powerful aerial headers in the box. He scored instinctive finishes off of the first touch. He actually looks better when the finishes have to be instinctive. I think I've worried about him a little bit when he's one-on-one with lots of time and space. That's where he's tended to have, been caught like a deer in the headlights. But yeah, he can score off his right foot, his left foot, off the half bounce, volleyed goals, lots of headers, lots of goals inside the box. But he also doesn't mind shooting. He's not averse to getting his shots off. And we've seen him score screamers from outside the box as well. So yeah, for me, he's very capable of scoring every single type of goal. He is the type of deal, and I'm not saying we should do, but he's the type of striker that, you have to just invest in now and be patient with him and grow him, help him to learn the game model, help him to gel and kind of become acquainted with the attack. But I feel he's the type of player that you can build your attack around for the foreseeable future. And I think if we don't sign him, someone else is going to sign him, get the deal right, and we'll be having another one of these really frustrating conversations. So yeah, I do think we sign him. He will. I don't expect him to be super consistent in front of goal to begin with. I think we have to have some patience in him and invest in him and just give him a bit of time. But I think he will hit a point before long where, again, he explodes into goal scoring form and just does it. And I think, I was talking about the Isak deal again. That's one that got away. I just don't. I'm not a believer that we will execute that deal. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm just not a believer that now, currently, we will pay the money for him. And there's a part of me that's against paying the money required for Isak, because a large part of me just felt we needed to do the deal when he was at 65 mil. Same as I think you both. I think when he was available is when we should have signed him. I think we've missed the window. Yes, he's a reliable scorer, but I personally don't want to pay 150 million pounds for him from Newcastle. Right now, I think there's always the next one up. Get ahead of the next one up. So if it's Sesko, if it's like an Ekitike or whatever. But Isak, we have to remember, had a really good goal scoring season at Sociedad. And that was followed up by a very poor goal scoring season. He scored 4 goals. Yeah. It was a leap of faith for Newcastle to invest in him. Yeah, but they didn't invest in signing a player for the here and now. Yeah, they invested in saying, we're going to sign this guy. And in anywhere between 6 and 18 months, this guy is absolutely going to spring to life for us. And he's going to propel us. And we're seeing that now. You know, when he started, it was a bit ropey. He got a couple of goals and then he sat down and was injured. And then Callum Wilson was starting up front and was saying, "Rah, they spent all this money for him. What's going on?" And then he was playing left wing and they're saying, "Rah, they spent this money on this centre forward, but he's having to play left wing. Rah, but blah, blah, snatched his chain and Callum Wilson's, you know, benching him or whatnot." There's no debate right now as to who the main man and who the main striker at Newcastle is. So, you know, that's a leaf that we need to take out of that book, in my opinion, in relation to Sesko. And if Sesko's not the man for us, that's also fine. But we do just need to identify the next one and move on them very quickly.
Yeah, I think to follow that up, I think there is a lot of short-termism with regards to some of these players.
Yeah,
I think Isak is a very good example of that. When you know, some of us were saying let's sign him, and I think the people on this pod probably were, but like people were saying like absolutely not for the money. Whereas if he would have done that, that would have been a good investment. Sometimes you have to take risks
exactly.
in order to
Yeah.
get rewards. So
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
whilst and this is what I applied to Sesko. I think he probably isn't ready right now, but he can be ready in the next 6, 12 months. I don't know when he's gonna boom, but I can see him booming. And if he don't boom, that's cool. Sometimes you have to take that risk, and then sometimes you have to take, you know, sign the short guarantee, which is someone like Declan Rice. I think there needs to be a mix of those signings. So I'm for it. When I look around Europe and look at the best young centre forwards, I think he is in that mix. I look at him. I look at Ekitike. So these are guys that I would go after. I don't really like going after players. Like I think, for example, Evan Ferguson, I was a big fan.
Yeah.
I don't really like going after players that you have to rebuild.
Yeah.
Sesko, you don't have to rebuild. You have to nurture the
That's
talent.
that's what I'm saying. It's not, you're not fixing someone from a broken home. He's a
Yeah,
good youth from a good home already, bro. Just
yeah.
just put the environment there for him to let him cook. So
Just put some
yeah.
Travis Scott on his feet, man. And it's gonna be, it's gonna be all right, man.
Hey, bro, get
Put him in
trust
some
me.
Moncler. Put a monkey jacket on him, man.
Hey, um, dead. Okay, let's quickly finish up with some listeners' questions then, and we can get out of it. Ranch Dingus, he asked two. He says, with this result all but confirming a week off, what can we expect from the Dubai trip? Is it even confirmed we're going to Dubai? I think it might. Is it the because that fourth?
It's not confirmed we're going to Dubai, but it's confirmed we're getting a week off. So
Yeah, that
we're gonna,
fourth
we're
FA
gonna,
Cup,
I
because
think
obviously
they
we got
said
knocked
that
out the FA
we
Cup.
will be doing warm weather training. Where we going, I don't
Okay.
know, but I
yeah,
heard we're doing warm weather
Listen,
training.
get me
absolutely.
get me to Dubai too, bro. I need to go back there, bro. I'm down. I'm down.
Yo, calm
Um,
down, man.
Yo, and he says, with Ethan Miles and Bukayo being so strong, what are they feeding these Halen kids? I said, listen, bro, I'm telling you, bro, all of these men are pounded yam babies, bro. Well, they're built different around here, bro. Solid youths, bro. I don't know what the answer is, but bro, they're eating good, bro. I don't know if Saka's mum is supplying the catering. You know them aunties that will be supplying the stuff for the church or the food for the wedding, bro. So I don't know, but they might be going to Saka's. I know Saka's mum goes church in Brent Cross. Listen, she might have a catering service, bro. They need it, boy. And some of the other man.
Are you hold on, shit? Are you keeping wiretaps on Saka?
Hey, listen, bro. Listen, hey, bro. That is my dog. I miss. Hey, listen. Listen, anytime a Saka comp is dropping on the TL lately, brother, I'm sitting. I am seated, bro. Because listen, what I'm seeing Sterling serve up right now, don't piss me off, bro. Do not piss me off, bro. I just miss the simple execution of actions, which the other brothers, listen, the less said about them, the better. Stina SWVG. This guy always asks some wayward questions, bro. In fact, I'm sure, isn't this the Adeyemi stan? Because now he's put no
Yeah,
question.
it is the
He
Adeyemi
says
stuff.
no question, but Santiago Jimenez and Haj Musa, 70 mil combined. Get it done, my brother. Please, bro. I know if you were in charge of Arsenal right now, bro, we would be in the mud, bro. We might have been relegated by now, bro, because some of the suggestions this brother is suggesting.
I like that Jimenez you though. I think that Jimenez you is all right. I don't know. I don't. It's hard to say whether Arsenal's the level because for me, these strikers are always prolific in Holland. Always.
Yeah,
Had Musa. I'm not sure I know who that is.
don't know who that is, bro.
Yeah.
I'm not a hip. I'm not.
Next region thing, man.
Okay, I'm not a hipster anymore, bro. I don't really get to watch as much ball as I used to, bro. So when you got 2 kids to tend to, listen, my priorities have changed, bro. I'm sorry, man. You guys got to keep me updated.
We have heard,
Poor you.
golly.
Poor you, man. Like, poor you, bro. This is man's crying for the violins, bro.
Yes, I'm crying for the. Do you know what? Yeah, Shabs.
Throw up a swan for old Sean. Throw up a
Listen.
swan, man.
Shabs is only saying that because his kids are grown. Yeah, he don't have to do this no more. His time has come and gone,
man.
bro. But
No
listen,
more
German Dan.
Hey, no more $250 a week nursery.
God damn.
Bro, no more, bro.
You reminded me. I've
No
got
more
to pay
$250
nursery.
a week, bro. No more
My daughter.
not even 250, 282 quid.
Brother, it's over a bag, bro. A month for nursery, bro.
Yeah,
Listen.
bro. Yeah, you gotta hold
Yeah.
that, fam.
You got that, man. You good, brother.
You good, bro. You be alright.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you, I'm not
Right?
good, bro. I'm not good right now, bro. I'm not good at all. Right, Femstar82, he says, interesting question. If Mane was linked to Arsenal when he was at Southampton, do you think Arsenal fans would have been on socials saying he's not good enough for us? Whenever a forward is proving himself and linked with Arsenal, why is the reaction always they're not good enough? Is that a fair question?
We're bougie, man. I think it is fair. I think this is a question straight out of Ant's playbook, by the way. I think this is Ant's burner account. Because Ant is the one that will be giving us, if it were Young Wissa.
Nah, but listen, Wissa is 29, bro.
I'm sorry, yeah.
We ain't doing Wissa.
Let me just get this off my chest, man. Ant wants to keep signing these old ass dudes, man.
Ant's
these old dudes, man.
No, but Ant's got fidelity to like the English, like Ant wants like the whole English footballing ecosystem to continue to flourish.
Listen,
that's what he wants. Like,
Ant wants us to sign Rashford. I think there is enough said.
No, he doesn't. No, hey,
no,
don't do
brother.
my guy dirty like that. Don't
Are you okay? Do you know what he said in the chat yesterday? He said, "Deadline day, Rashford." That's what he said.
No. There was a context behind that because I was involved.
Look at the you ain't gonna defend him, brother. He ain't here, bro.
Defending him, bro, because this is nasty. This is nasty.
That granddad can defend himself, bro. He needs to hold that, bro.
There was context. There was context to the conversation.
I don't give a damn about no goddamn context, bro. Right now, I'm crashing out. I'm ready to fight everybody.
You're nasty, bro. This is some quick flapping.
I don't give a damn.
I expect this from German, but not from you, man. Come on, man.
Expect everything. Expect this from German.
What the hell? What do you mean? What do I mean, bro? You know who you are.
Okay.
I see the bad side of you coming out, Shabs, man.
Bro, how can you say you love to tussle, and here you are tussling that? I'm saying expect to tussle, and you're getting defensive. Make up your mind.
I'm just asking you a question, bro.
Do you like to fight or do you not?
You know I do. So
exactly. Boy. What are we doing? What are we doing here? I'm just confirming that you like to fight, bro. Come on, man.
We got a few more. Let's rattle through them. Count Dracula says, who was worse, Sterling or Willian? God damn. They were two cheeks of the same ass, man. Yeah, I think Willian might be worse because he was brought to be a key piece and they had to cancel that contract after a season, bro.
Willian's worse.
God.
I'm not letting the Jamaican born off, man.
I'm not letting him off either, but William, come on, man. William was worse, man.
At least with Sterling, we can send him back
a whole season and then ran from the grind. Bro.
Okay. At _Asir_Lee, he says, should we give thought to turning Ethan into a winger? I say this because I love what I'm seeing from him, and they're not signing 2 wingers in our lifetime. I don't. So Ethan's an interesting one, because I've said, I think now Saka's out, I think Ethan should be getting a lot of minutes at right wing. I think that should be his introduction where he sees a lot of minutes, the same way Miles is seeing a lot of minutes at left back at the moment. That doesn't mean that I think that should be his full-time position, because I still think he's got a lot to offer us in the interior. But for now, I don't really see it as an issue, personally.
I must say he's an interior designer,
This German guy, bro.
No, I hear you though. With Ethan, it's so difficult because I think he could. I said this before. I think he could end up being a number 9. He likes to shoot. He's got a very good finish. like a modern forward. I could see him be that, but I could also see him be an 8. Like it's
Uh,
it's very difficult to pin down
Him
what
to one
position
position. Yeah.
he's gonna
Also,
actually excel in.
he doesn't need to be pigeonholed at the moment anyway. For me, just let the kid play in it. Just let him play.
Yeah. His natural game will show itself. His tendencies will show itself.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then you can still kind of mold him.
the more we see of him, the more we'll be able to understand where he fits best.
Yeah. Yeah. But I get what you mean about the striker shouts, and he has played striker as well for like the under 18s, the under 23s for England as well. But I think his stature, his size, long term, I think that will be a tougher position for him. I still think he's intelligent. He's got the tendencies. He's strong, but I think
I
the
can't
way
lie, it reminds me of Aguero, man. Like the way he's like stocky, but he
you
can
think
like
so.
move his feet fast to get a shot off. And also,
Yeah,
I don't think even stocky like that. I just think he knows how to.
bro, he's stocky for his age, bro. How many 17-year-olds do you know that look like that, bro?
You think he's stocky? I just think he knows how to hold. He knows how to hold himself well. He knows how
My
to
guy,
ride.
look at him, and then look at Fabio Vieira, bro. Brother.
Now that's different. Hey, that's
Bro.
different. Hey. That's different. Hey, this paella you, yeah.
Bro.
This sangria and paella you can't you can't chat that hard food, Ethan and Mars.
Yeah.
Never.
Never eaten paella like that in Portugal. I thought that's a Spanish thing.
Spanish thing.
I mean, they show my ignorance, whatever.
Shabs is being bare Brexit because they're next door to each other. Right? He's saying they're eating the same food, bro. Hey, listen, the views of Hood Solicitor Shabs are the views of his and his alone, bro. They don't represent TG.
You're trying to turn me into Lewis. Hey, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Okay. Tobes Logic says 2 questions. Firstly, has Odegaard become shot shy? I don't really think so. I think he's maybe just suffering from a bit of confidence at the moment. And he says, does Miles Lewis Skelly progress in the same way Saka did when he first broke into the team? I think both him and Ethan will progress, and they will. I don't know if they'll reach Saka's level, but I think they will both have good impacts in the first team. Personally,
these men are too good, man. They're too good.
I think I'm not gonna lie. I think Miles will reach Saka's level, definitely. I think if we, and I said this the other day in the post match, if you compare Saka's first 10 games for Arsenal, where people were saying, "Oh, he just looks decent. He just looks like he'll be a decent left back or whatever," which I still feel the projections were too early, and I was calling people out then and saying, "You lot need to relax. You need to wait and see." A bit like the conversation we're having now with Ethan, you need to wait and see how he actually develops or whatnot. But Saka's first 10 games for Arsenal, most people would say he looked decent, but was probably underwhelming, and probably because of the state of the team at that moment in time. Ethan's first 10 games for Arsenal, he's looked amazing in a very, very good side. Yeah. And you can see and showcase his range of abilities as well, especially his ability to let the ball run across his body, the way he receives, the way that he holds on to the football and absorbs the contact and draws the foul at the very last minute. People are drawing all types of comparisons to just the top players in this league because of the way that he's playing already, and he's still, within like his first couple of starts for Arsenal. So I think by that, obviously it doesn't work like that, but I'm just saying if you compare them across the two careers at that moment in time, I think there's a lot more that we've been impressed with for Miles than we were about Saka.
Yeah, like even the way he jinked in was quite reminiscent of Saka today and played that ball where Rice should have scored the header from. I think the biggest compliment I can pay both him and Miles is, right, despite the fact they're both teenagers and it was similar with Saka, it's the level of personality they play with. I think for me that's just always the level of personality, and the fact that they can both create separation at this level at this age is not normal, basically, as well. So, to the point they don't look like kids when they're on the pitch, and that's the biggest compliment you can pay both of them, man. So I think they will both reach a top level. Let's end it with this one. Johnny F, he says, is there a Trossard-like signing you can see us going for before the end of Jan, or you would personally like to make Prem proven and cheap? I don't think we'll have the ambition to go for Cunha Sesko. Well, we can leave Cunha and Sesko to the side. We've talked about them enough. If you were to ask me a signing I would like to make, a Prem one that I think could have an impact, it would be Semenyo at Bournemouth. I really, really like that brother, bro. Obviously, it's probably too late in the day. Bournemouth would need to replace, but I like him a lot, and I would slap down 50 M's for Semenyo personally. Do you guys have any left field shouts that you would slap down for?
Kudus, yeah. I would Semenyo too, and Cunha, but Kudus is the one we've not mentioned today. For me, in the Prem, he'd be one.
Okay, German. Left field, any left field ones?
Yeah, well, I mentioned Kudus earlier. I mentioned Cunha, Semenyo. I mentioned earlier. I'm trying to think if there's someone else that I like.
In the Prem.
Yeah. Boy, some of these man, I ain't gonna lie.
I like. You said. To be fair, you said Kudus earlier. The other one that I really like is Njai. Very left field. You could argue about whether he's Arsenal level.
The sensible transfers, the Athletic did recommend him. He was on there, and I can't lie, the way he cooked. I don't know who he cooked for Spurs for that goal at the weekend. That was so peak. That was real, like a good level of individual quality. I've not watched him enough to make that assertion, but I actually do. He's got. That's a very. I
got my left field shout, and this is one that I've had years ago, to be honest.
Okay.
Nordsjælland Classic, Sulemana.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. I can't lie to you. That brother's skill set is top. You see, when I talk about, for me, I described him as that's like a baby Sadio Mane to me, bro. That is someone where if you could put it together, listen, there's nothing stopping that kid, bro. Providing obviously he's had a lot of injuries, which would be the worry. But providing he locks in, that kid, to be fair, that might be the best one, bro. Because what that kid was doing to Lenny Euro, oh my days, the memes that were dropping on the TL after that Southampton.
Now you see Sulemana, yeah. You see Sulemana. That bro. Sulemana is who I think Nico Williams is similar to.
Bro, I can't lie to you. I like more what I've seen of Sulemana than I've seen of Nico Williams.
Yeah. No,
I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not mad at that shout. I'm not like a super duper advocate for Nico Williams. I'm just saying the way Sulemana interprets the game and the way he played, especially when I've seen Nico Williams at his best, the way Sulemana played against United is what I see Nico Williams being able to do, But yeah, I love that shout from German because he's another one for me. Sulemana again. I was right there with you when we were talking about signing him from Rennes. I think we should have signed him from Rennes, especially for what we had at the time. I think we should have just done the business.
I remember him and Doku were at Rennes at the same time as well. That was very interesting.
He was better than Doku as well.
Yeah.
The thing is with Nico Williams. Now, I've watched some games. Some games he's been good. Some games he's been meaty. Like I just haven't seen enough to be like super convinced of him. And also, I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry, but this brother grew up in the Basque region. He's on big money in Bilbao. He don't have the same hunger as some like Sulemana, bro.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not shouting for Nico Williams. I'm not shouting for Nico Williams. I'm just saying. He the way that Sulemana cooked, that reminds me of Nico Williams when he's at his best. Yeah. But Sulemana is also inconsistent.
Yeah, German, I really like that point, about Nico. He's not had to get it out the mud, bro. Listen, this is a silver spoon kid, innit? It's been handed to him, bro. How can you be chopping 250 wages at your age, bro? Please, I beg, man.
He's had to put up with racism. They didn't put up with peak racism.
Bro, I don't care about that, bro. He didn't have to go to fetch water from the well. He's a silver spoon, bro. I'm begging. I'm telling you, bro. Listen, they didn't make this guy do ballet in school or that. He's not had to do anything, man.
This
He's
guy
not had to
coming
do
into the
niche.
changing room, walking slow, bro. Like I see when someone's been around uncles when someone hasn't.
Yeah, for real. He doesn't respect his elders. That's why I can't have him, bro. He's gonna come thinking he's the big dog, bro. He's gonna come into the team and try to chop the most money. He doesn't know that Saka has his big ogre. He needs to prostrate before. Yeah, do you know what? Cross this brother off the list. Thank you, German. In fact, we're locking off the pod there. Listeners, thank you very much. This is a no to Nico Williams, so you will not see any propaganda for this silver spoon kid on the TL from henceforth. So listeners, thank you very much. German, Shabs, thank you very much. It's late. I'm tired. We'll catch you on the flip side with some scouting pieces. Peace.